Picture this, an empire so powerful it would reshape the entire landscape of Asia, a dynasty where poetry was worth more than gold and emperors ruled not just with might but with wisdom and art. Welcome to the Tang Dynasty, the golden age of China that would echo through centuries. Close your eyes and travel back to the early 7th century. Imagine a world where creativity flourished, where artists and poets were as celebrated as warriors, and where a single dynasty would create a cultural tsunami that would wash across continents. The Tang weren't just rulers, they were dreamweavers, transforming everything they touched. But what made the Tang so extraordinary? Why do historians consider this dynasty the absolute pinnacle of Chinese culture? And perhaps most intriguingly, how did such a magnificent empire rise to unimaginable heights, only to dramatically vanish into the mists of history? Let me take you on a journey that's part epic, part mystery. This isn't just another dusty historical account. This is the story of an empire that practically invented cultural soft power centuries before the term even existed. We're talking about a civilization so advanced, so brilliant, that its influence would ripple through time, touching everything from art and literature to fashion and diplomacy. Think of the Tang Dynasty as the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, and a rock concert all rolled into one explosive cultural moment. Poets who could make emperors weep, artists who could capture the human soul with a single brushstroke, and leaders so sophisticated they made modern diplomats look like amateurs. Buckle up, history adventurers. We're about to unravel the secrets of one of the most incredible empires in human history. If you love diving deep into forgotten worlds, if you're passionate about uncovering the stories that shaped our world, then this journey is for you. Calling all history buffs and curious minds, if you're ready to discover the mind-blowing saga of an empire that changed everything, then this is your moment. Hit that like button, subscribe to the Medieval Archives, and get ready for a historical adventure you'll never forget. Don't miss a single episode of our deep dive into the magnificent Tang Dynasty. Picture China in the year 618. A land in total chaos, teetering on the edge of destruction. The once mighty Wu Dynasty, famous for incredible engineering feats like the Grand Canal, a waterway so ambitious it would make modern urban planners look like amateurs, was crumbling under the weight of its own ambition. Imagine a kingdom torn apart by rebellion, with people desperate for stability, for a leader who could stitch the fractures of an entire civilization back together. Enter Li Yuan, not just a general but a master strategist with the cunning of a chess grandmaster and the vision of a true statesman. Li Yuan was no ordinary military leader. He was a political ninja, reading the winds of change like some could read books. When the Sui dynasty was at its weakest, he saw his moment. With calculated precision, he seized power and did something extraordinary. He didn't just conquer, he rebuilt. And in doing so, he founded the Tang Dynasty, a name that would soon become synonymous with cultural brilliance and imperial greatness. But here's where the story gets even more fascinating. Li Yuan wasn't content to be just another conqueror. He had a secret weapon, his son Li Shimin. Think of Li Shimin as the ultimate heir, not just a prince, but a prodigy who would transform an emerging dynasty into a global superpower. When Li Shimin took the throne, he became Emperor Taizong, a ruler so legendary that historians would later call him the Wise Emperor. But don't imagine a stuffy, formal monarch. Taizong was a Renaissance man before the Renaissance even existed. A brilliant military strategist, a patron of arts and sciences, a leader who understood that true power wasn't just about conquering territories, but about cultivating knowledge and culture. Here's a delicious historical tidbit that shows just how extraordinary Taizong was. Unlike many rulers of his time, he actually listened to his advisors. He created a system of government that valued merit over bloodline, bringing talented people from all walks of life into positions of power. Imagine that, a time when your skills mattered more than your family name. The birth of the Tang Dynasty wasn't just a change of rulers, it was a complete reset of what an empire could be. From the ashes of the chaotic Sui dynasty, Li Yuan and his son Taizong created something magical, an empire that would become a beacon of culture, innovation, and human potential. So the next time someone tells you that great change is impossible, just remember the story of the Tang Dynasty, a single family, a moment of vision, and suddenly an entire civilization is reborn. Imagine a time when words were more powerful than armies, when a single poem could shake the foundations of an empire. Welcome to the Tang Dynasty's golden age of culture, a period so extraordinary that it would make our modern creative renaissance look like a mere warm-up act. Under the Tang, poetry wasn't just art, it was oxygen. Poets were rock stars, cultural heroes, celebrated more than military generals. Take Li Bai, the legendary immortal of wine, a poet so brilliant, so wild, that he became a living myth. Picture this, a genius who could write heart-stopping verses while half drunk, who wandered through life like a free spirit, composing poetry that would be whispered and celebrated for centuries to come. And then there was Du Fu, the sage of poetry, Li Bai's perfect counterpart. Where Li Bai was all passion and wild emotion, Du Fu was depth and profound insight. These weren't just poets, they were the heartbeat of an entire civilization. Their words captured everything, from the grandeur of imperial life to the most delicate human emotions. Imagine a world where poets were so respected that emperors would invite them to court, hanging on their every word. But here's the mind-blowing part. The Tang cultural explosion wasn't just about poetry. This was a full-blown cultural supernova that would reshape art across entire continents. Their painting, breathtaking. Their music, revolutionary. And don't even get me started on fashion. Here's a juicy historical tidbit that will blow your mind. Tang princesses were literally trendsetters for the entire Asian continent. Those flowing, wide-sleeved dresses, they didn't just stay in China. They became the height of fashion in Japan, inspiring court attire that would last for generations. It's like the Tang were the original influencers, but instead of Instagram, they were changing cultures through sheer artistic brilliance. And now, hold on to your seats for a story that sounds like it's straight out of a Hollywood epic. Let me tell you about Princess Li Chunyan, the last Tang princess who became a living, breathing peace treaty. In a move that would make modern diplomats look like amateurs, she was offered in marriage to an Arab caliph to prevent a massive war. One woman, one marriage, the potential to change the entire course of history. Think about that for a moment. This wasn't just a dynasty, this was a cultural explosion so powerful that it could stop wars, inspire artists, and create connections across thousands of miles. The Tang didn't just create culture, they exported it, they weaponized it, they made it a form of soft power that would echo through centuries. From the wine-soaked poems of Li Bai to the diplomatic marriages of princesses, from paintings that could make grown men weep to fashion that would inspire continents, the Tang Dynasty wasn't just a historical period, it was a mic-drop moment for human creativity. Close your eyes and transport yourself to the 8th century. Imagine a city so incredible, so ahead of its time, that it would make modern metropolises look like tiny villages. Welcome to Chang'an, the crown jewel of the Tang Dynasty, and hands down the most mind-blowing city on the planet. This wasn't just a city. This was the New York, the London, the Tokyo of its time, but on steroids. Picture this, over 1 million inhabitants when most cities were barely the size of a small town, 1 million people. In the 8th century, Chang'an was so massive, so advanced, that it would take European cities another 700 years to catch up. But here's where it gets truly mind-blowing. Chang'an wasn't just big, it was the ultimate global marketplace. Imagine walking down a street where Arabic merchants in flowing robes brush shoulders with Persian traders, Korean artisans, and Chinese entrepreneurs. The marketplace was a symphony of languages, a riot of colors, a place where the entire known world came together to trade. Silk, porcelain, spices. These weren't just goods. They were conversation starters, cultural ambassadors. A piece of silk from Chang'an could tell a story that spanned continents. A porcelain vase wasn't just a decoration. It was a diplomatic statement, a work of art that could start conversations between civilizations. And the most revolutionary thing, religious tolerance that would make our modern world look primitive by comparison. In Chang'an, something magical happened. Buddhists walked side by side with Nestorian Christians. Muslim traders prayed in their mosques while Buddhist monks chanted in their temples. This wasn't just a city. This was a living, breathing experiment in human understanding. Let me drop a historical bombshell that will blow your mind. Chang'an had actual Christian churches and Muslim mosques in the 8th century. While the rest of the world was busy fighting religious wars, the Tang Dynasty was creating a blueprint for global coexistence. Picture the streets, silk merchants from Persia negotiating deals with Chinese traders, a Nestorian priest discussing philosophy with a Buddhist monk, a Muslim trader sharing a cup of tea with a Korean artisan. This wasn't just a city. This was the United Nations of its time, centuries before the concept even existed. The marketplace of Chang'an was like a massive, living, breathing internet of its time. Information, goods, ideas, everything flowed freely. Imagine a place where a piece of news could travel from Arabia to Korea in a matter of days, where a new style of pottery could start a cultural revolution, where a single conversation could change the course of history. So history lovers, culture enthusiasts, global citizens, are you amazed? Do you want to know more about this incredible city that was light years ahead of its time? Hit that like button, subscribe to the Medieval Archives, and dive deep into the most incredible urban experiment in human history. And here's a challenge for you. Drop a comment below. Which Chinese dynasty do you find most fascinating? Was the Tang Dynasty's Chang'an as mind-blowing to you as it is to me? Let's start a conversation that would make those 8th century traders proud. Every great empire has a dark side, and for the Tang Dynasty, that darkness came crashing down in the year 755, a moment that would shatter the most magnificent civilization of its time like a beautiful vase dropped from a great height. Picture this, An Lushan, not just a general, but the emperor's favorite. A man so close to power, so trusted that he was practically family. But power has a way of corrupting even the most seemingly loyal hearts. And Lushan wasn't just going to betray the emperor. He was going to tear the entire empire apart. In one devastating moment, this trusted general launched a rebellion that would become one of the most horrific civil wars in human history. We're talking about a conflict so brutal, so all-consuming, that it would kill millions. Entire cities turned to ash. Families were ripped apart. The streets of the once glorious Chang'an ran red with blood. This wasn't just a rebellion. This was a complete systemic collapse of an entire civilization. Imagine the most powerful empire in the world, brought to its knees by the ultimate betrayal. And Lucian didn't just want power. He wanted to watch the entire world burn. But here's where the story gets even more incredible. Enter Wu Zetian, the only female emperor in Chinese history. And when I say only, I mean the absolute first and only woman to ever sit on the imperial throne. This wasn't just a political leader. This was a force of nature. Wu Zetian was like a phoenix rising from the ashes. While other leaders would have given up, she fought back with everything she had. She reorganized the military, rebuilt the bureaucracy, and tried to stitch together an empire that was literally falling apart at the seams. Imagine the strength it took to lead during the most devastating period in your dynasty's history, and to do it as the first and only woman to ever hold such power. But here's the heartbreaking truth. Despite her superhuman efforts, the Tang dynasty was mortally wounded. The An Lushan rebellion was like a cancer that had spread too far. The empire would limp on for another 150 years, but it would never fully recover its former glory. This is the brutal reality of power. One moment of betrayal can destroy centuries of achievement. And Lushan showed the world how fragile even the mightiest empires can be. One general, one rebellion, millions of lives destroyed. Wu Zetian became a symbol of resilience. She proved that leadership isn't about gender. It's about raw, unbreakable spirit. She fought when everyone else would have surrendered. She rebuilt when everyone else saw only destruction. But sometimes, no matter how hard you fight, some wounds are too deep to heal. The Tang Dynasty had been mortally wounded, and the world would never be the same again. The year is 907. The mighty Tang Dynasty officially falls. But here's the mind-blowing truth. True greatness never dies. Some empires crumble. The Tang, they became immortal. Close your eyes and imagine a legacy so powerful that it transcends time itself. The Tang Dynasty didn't just create history. They wrote a cultural blueprint that would echo through centuries, influencing generations long after their imperial banners fell. Let's talk about their poetry. These aren't just words on a page. These are living, breathing pieces of human emotion that still send shivers down the spine of every student in China. Li Bai and Du Fu aren't just poets. They're national treasures, cultural icons, whose verses are still taught, celebrated, and whispered like sacred texts. But it doesn't stop at poetry. Walk into any modern Chinese film studio, any art gallery, and you'll see the ghostly fingerprints of the Tang everywhere. Their artistic vision didn't just inspire, it revolutionized. Movies, television series, paintings, fashion, all carry the DNA of this incredible dynasty. Speaking of fashion, let me blow your mind with a simple fact. That gorgeous Hanfu dress you might see in modern Chinese fashion. It's not just a dress, it's a love letter to the Tang Dynasty. Every flowing sleeve, every elegant line is a whisper from 1,000 years ago saying, "We were here, we created beauty." This is the true magic of the Tang. They understood something profound that most empires miss. Real power isn't about conquering territories. Real power is about creating culture so beautiful, so profound, that it becomes immortal. Imagine a civilization so extraordinary that 1,000 years later, people are still studying their poems, wearing clothes inspired by their fashion, creating art that echoes their vision. The Tang didn't just rule an empire, they planted cultural seeds that would bloom centuries after they were gone. Their scientists advanced mathematics, their philosophers reshaped how people thought about the world. Their artists created beauty that would make future generations weep. The Tang Dynasty proved that an empire's true measure isn't in the land it conquers, but in the dreams it inspires. This isn't just history, this is a masterclass in human potential. A reminder that true greatness isn't about armies or gold, it's about the ideas you leave behind. The Tang Dynasty didn't just survive in history books, they survived in the heart of human creativity. Some empires are forgotten. The Tang, they became legendary. We've journeyed through one of the most incredible sagas in human history, the Tang Dynasty, a civilization that wasn't just an empire, but a supernova of human potential. Think about this for a moment. Here was a dynasty that rose from chaos, created the most cosmopolitan city the world had ever seen, produced poetry that would make grown men weep, and then, despite a devastating betrayal, left a legacy so powerful that it would echo through centuries. The Tang Dynasty is more than just a historical footnote. It's a masterclass in what makes human civilization truly immortal. They teach us that true greatness isn't about how long you survive. It's about how deeply you inspire. Empires will fall, borders will shift, but ideas, art, dreams, those are eternal. So I have a question for you. A challenge that goes beyond this video, beyond history. What makes a civilization truly memorable? Is it its armies, its wealth, Or is it something more profound? The poems it creates, the stories it tells, the beauty it brings into the world? The Tang Dynasty whispers an answer. Greatness is about the dreams you plant that continue to grow long after you're gone. If this journey through the Tang Dynasty has blown your mind as much as it's blown mine, then it's time to take action. Hit that like button. Show some love for historical storytelling. Share this video with every history buff, every culture lover, every friend who needs to know about this incredible civilization. Subscribe to the Medieval Archives, your portal to the most mind-blowing stories from history. We're not just talking about dates and battles. We're talking about human stories that will make you see the world differently. And here's your mission. Drop a comment below. Tell us, what civilization fascinates you? What stories from history make your imagination soar? Let's start a conversation that would make those Tang poets proud. Until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and never forget, history is the most incredible story ever told.